Well, what's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning back into my ride to work, my commute. I decided to record some of my daily vlogs in my car, and I set up a camera array so I can do so now because this is the time where I can actually talk and record without being distracted. Well, I'll be distracted by driving, obviously, but no one's going to be in the store. I won't be distracted by store, issues and everything. So I thought that this would be a good time for me to talk, and I got a good solid 10-20 minutes to talk in between. Sometimes 30 depending on traffic. So yeah, let's go ahead. But today's topic that I want to quickly talk about is I had a question that was asked to me recently about how my MBA has contributed to me making this decision, this huge life decision of mine. Did it help or did it not? Was it a waste of time, or was it something that I definitely needed in my life to make this decision? And quickly to answer that is, the simple answer is yes. It really did help me, because I had this business plan ever since I came back from South Korea and Japan. So this is ever since 2009. And I ran a small test store with the little money I had back in college. And I ran a little store in the downtown area. The town was a welfare town, so it wasn't too expensive. But we ran it there, and it went well. It worked well to the point where I was like, well, let's close this up and move back home to where I live now and open it down here properly with the proper budget and investments. And the thing is, ever since I graduated in 2010, it was impossible. Like, no one would ever give me a chance. My business plan, to be honest, I look back on it now, it was very shoddy. It was very, typical, just like, it looked half-assed or anything. But I was hoping that someone could understand my vision and invest in it, but nobody. Oh geez, someone just braked really hard, good job. But over time, with all the rejections and even all the improvements that I did make on the business plan, it just, no one was biting, and no one would see the vision and understand it. So I got discouraged over time, and that's when I started to work for all these random companies. I took up contracting work, and then about 2012 is when two friends of mine, they kind of convinced me to go back to school, to go pursue my MBA and just pursue that corporate life, because that's where it's at for a lot of people. They take care of you, you get the benefits, you can get good pay. And so that's what I did. I decided to go back to school and start taking MBA courses. And I found a local school. Unfortunately, like back in the day, so I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I scored a 750 on my GMATs, and this is not that I'm smart, guys, by all means, no. What happened for me was, in college, from junior to senior year, after I came back from Asia, I was an A, B, C, D, F student, guys, so keep that in mind. I had a 1.6 GPA in my undergrad year for the first 2 years, and then junior, senior years, when I kind of got like my act together, and I got straight A's, and I took summer courses to retake some of those courses that I had D's in, because you can go ahead, they'll take the second higher grade. So I retook all those courses, and I was able to get my GPA back up to a 3.65. Unfortunately, if I was more motivated throughout the entire, my college existence, I would have gotten a summa cum laude, but obviously I couldn't. But I still got magna cum laude, and I graduated with honors, and I had a 750 on my GMAT because I studied my butt off, folks. It's not about knowing everything, it's also knowing about how to take the test. So for those of you guys interested in taking your MBA, or taking the GMATs to start pursuing it, it's not about what you know. I mean, that plays into it, but you got to know also how to take the exam, because that is half the battle. And that's what I did for 6 months straight. I not only did the workbooks and everything and refamiliar myself with some of the formulas and concepts, but I learned how to read the questions. I learned how to take the exam. I learned how to do all the easy ones and go back, and there are different techniques that you can do. But after 6 months, I got proficient enough at it that I scored a decent score on it. And then so I applied to some schools right out of college, and I won't say which schools that I got into, just because I don't want to make myself look pompous, but I got into a certain really good prestigious school in Philadelphia, but I just couldn't afford to go. Even with the financial assistance that they were offering me, I still needed another like $200,000, something like that, and no bank would give me that money. And for me, I couldn't justify taking a loan that big, so I just gave up on that dream of going to that school. But back in 2012, so we're jumping forward in time, I decided to go so jumping forward back in time though, in 2012, I decided to go to this school because they offered financial assistance. My company at the time, the company I worked for, also offered tuition reimbursement, and at the same time, this school just met twice a week, and it was in the evenings, so right after work. And on top of that, I could be done my MBA in 2 years because there was a 4-semester year. So I was in school non-stop throughout the year, no breaks in between. So I decided to do it just because, you know what, I can streamline my MBA process, I don't have to prolong it, and I'll be done quick and easy, and I did that. But while taking my courses though, you know, there was a couple classes, I forget which ones were which, but you know, there were certain classes where we went over what kind of leader are you? Where do you fit in the corporate structure and everything? So questions like that. And over time, I think it was about maybe a year in, is when I started to discover that I did not like working for a company. I think a lot of us think the same way. But no, for me though, you gotta keep in mind, my MBA program, I did not realize the caliber of the people that were in there, because everybody that I eventually over time found out what everyone did at their respective companies, and they were all either not mid-level managers, but senior level managers and up. So some of them were triple my pay scale and up minimum. And then one day we were at like a, you know, class end party, and they found out that I was a entry-level processor at this company, and everyone was just shocked. They all offered me their business cards and everything, they offered me a job too and everything, but it's just the way I think. When I'm in group projects or in competitions or anything problem solving, I always think out of the box, and that's just how I've always been. It's not, anytime I got asked to, you know, got told this phrase, it's always been that way, I automatically revert back and say, why? It shouldn't be that way. If there's ways to do things better, why not do it? And that just got my brain going. And you know, and then ever since then, I was like, you know what? Let's start diving back into my business plan. So this is right around 2013, and because for me, it's like I heard this quote. You know, it's like if you're gonna fail, if there's a potential to fail at doing something that's safe, I'd rather fail at doing something I love. You know, I think that was Jim Carrey that said that, and I wanted to do that, and so I decided to follow. You know, I decided to bring open my business plan again, but literally take everything that I learned, all the financial, the forecasting, the market research that I have been doing during my MBA program, I put those skills to use in my business plan for Gamers Heaven and LPX Studios. And as I did the research, the numbers made sense. Now, can I go ahead and share that research with you guys? No, that was a lot of hard work on my end. I'm not just going to disclose all my findings to all you guys, but it's not that easy to find, but you have to dig it up. But you slowly discovered the potential of this industry and where it's going. And literally my MBA gave me the tools to get that information. Yes, you can try to go on your own, but I learned a lot of techniques from my classes that allowed me to do so. On top of that, how to structure the business as well too. I minored in analytics, so I was able to interpret the data in ways that I never thought before. And so I could tell a better story. And once I had all that done, so even after I graduated, I still worked on the business plan for a good, I say, you know, another few months, and I began meeting with investors again. There were a couple investors in Mississippi and Louisiana that I spoke with, a couple venture capital firms in the local area that I spoke with, and the business plan was still rough at the time because it was ever evolving, and even to this day it's ever evolving. But you know, a lot of them still saw it as too much of a risk. The numbers seemed too good to be true, and I did my best not to fudge it. The thing is, with the beauty of my to find the numbers I'm playing with, even if it was a minuscule percentage of the population that we could get to, even a small percentage, go, I don't know why this person's going, even if it was a small percentage, we will make a huge profit or huge revenue. And they just couldn't see that. It was too good to be true. And even for me, I understood, because sometimes, you know, how can you get that many people through those doors? Like, what can you do to do it? And that's where like my understanding of current market trends, current technology, current marketing trends, like that's like I did research on this during my 2 years at school, and it just like in my mind it just kept motivating me more and more and more, and just convincing me more and more. And in the end, I eventually ran into a pair of individuals that were interested. They had no idea what the market was, but they could see the passion in me, because what was wrong with me before was I had the passion, but I lacked the confidence in the passion. If you know what I mean. Like I could talk about it, but it's like, yeah, but I think like I can't just talk about how I feel. But after doing the research and gaining the skill set that I need, and in my mind being, I can do this. I'm able to do that. That's my personality. I like to do this kind of research. Oh, that's very doable. I applied everything that I learned during my courses and during the real world case studies that we did. I applied it to this business plan, and I was able to convince myself. And when I met with these two individuals this past summer, I was able to convince them. And that's where it hit me, because they said something that was very interesting. It's like they couldn't invest in me right now, and it was not because they didn't like the idea or me as a person. It's because they wanted to see me first put in the risk. Because why would anyone give you 100% of the risk if you're not willing to give any yourself? And the thing is, it's not about just financially. If you really believe in something, you gotta be willing to give up everything for it. And that's what I did. And you guys saw that. I gave up a steady income job with great benefits and a very flexible work schedule to do this. I pretty much gave away my future at that company to do this. And that's what I did. And that was the first commitment that I could show them to how much I believe in this. Not only to them, to you guys, but to myself. For me later on, if I never took that leap of faith, I would have regretted it. I mean, yeah, even if I was some decent executive at a company making decent money, I can always remember back and saying, why didn't I take that leap of faith? I had all the knowledge at the time, and why didn't I do it? I had the skill sets too. On top of that, what if someone else already took the idea and did it themselves? And I would even kick myself in the butt even more. And how many of us out there, including you guys, have had that moment where you're like, I had that idea. I should have done something. I could have done that. I should have done that. But you did it because you weren't 100% confident in it. You didn't allow yourself to get the skills that you need to really execute that plan and take the risk. Yes, I understand a lot of us out there have responsibilities. You have mortgages, you have families to take care of, you have all this. But at the end of the day, not to say that I don't understand your guys' situation, but at the end of the day, they are excuses. There is always a way to do something. You can start small. I did not realize this. I could start my grand business plan small, and that's what I did. For me, it's like, can I make this within the budget, the money I've saved up to now, including my mid-year bonus, can I make this store work? Can I open this and run it? Can I do it? And I did it. I spent a month and a half working on this budget and this forecasting, the business plan, and I made it work. And so it was just a matter of me just pulling the trigger. And so, I apologize if I rambled on here, but I just had to give you kind of the backstory of how I thought about the process. And the MBA program that I did, I don't know, I think it was my program, but I think it's every program in general, just gave me the confidence to do so. Not only because of the stuff I learned, but because of what I learned about myself. Because I was the leader in some of my project teams. And once again, I had to give you that backstory because remember, I was the peon in ranking of work life, of the work ranking and stuff. I was a processor at the time. Yet I was leading my groups. Yet I was the one coming up with these ideas. And even when we failed, we came in last place, I put us in first place because of my forward thinking. And just in general, like I learned a lot about myself during the program that I never knew during my undergrad. And I think that's something that a lot of us need. So whether or not you're thinking about going and pursuing your MBA, you don't necessarily have to, but it helped me. And it could help you, but it's a big cost. I understand that. So I mean, there's many ways you guys can go learn about this stuff, but for me personally, to that person who asked, it definitely helped me immensely. I know I'm repeating that. Just even though it added a huge burden on my student loan debts, because it literally almost doubled my student loans. I don't regret it to this day, because if I never did that, I would have never re-pursued my business plan and my passions again. And I would have never been in this situation talking to you guys behind a camera. I may still have been with my ex-fiance and pursuing the corporate dream, and maybe have been miserable. And I know I would have been miserable, to be honest. And so I am glad I took that risk to take the MBA, to not only take on the additional debt, but to get the skills that I needed to quit my job and take the risk to pursue this. Because whether this fails or not, that is not the point. It really isn't. I mean, yes, I wanted to succeed because I want to, have a good life in the future. But more importantly, I want to prove to myself that I could do this. This is not to make myself look good for anyone. Because in the future, when I'm looking down my kid's eyes, my grandkids' eyes, or even looking into my dad's eyes, I could tell him that I did my best. I did my best. I did everything to my potential as possible. And that's why I'm doing this. And that's why I'm glad I don't have any regrets right now. So there's that. So hopefully, dude, I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry if I answered it really long. I'll get better with these vlogs, I promise, but I had a lot on my mind around that question itself. But if you guys have any other questions, comments, or feedback for me, please go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below, and you guys know that I'll do my best to get back to you. And on top of that, if you like this video, please go ahead and leave a thumbs up to let me know you liked it. And if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button to join my channel, as well as check out my other channels that I've done on YouTube. So until the next vlog, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Well, good morning, everybody. Well, technically it's 12:09 right now according to my clock, so good afternoon, actually. Well, as most of you guys know, Mondays are typically the days where I catch up on my sleep, because I recover from my long weekend, because I have some ridiculous hours on the weekend. So today I slept in till about 10:30ish. So I didn't catch up on sleep per se, but I feel well rested enough today. But today's off to a good start.